Good evening, I'm Lisa Lord, and in our news, some Barbadians horrified over the bold slaying of a mother and son last night. Staggering stats on youth unemployment. The government rolls out a program to give young people an opportunity to become entrepreneurs. The so-called STEAM subjects are said to be in crisis in Barbados. And in sports, Barbados win medal number 4 at the Special Olympic Games.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC News Night, starting now.
In our top story, a St. Philip community is in shock following last night's shooting, which claimed the lives of a mother and son. Now, the latest incident brings the number of murders for the year to 18, and residents are now trying to adjust in the wake of that tragedy.
The dark clouds above me are just a reflection of the mood here in racist St. Philip following last evening's tragic events where a mother and a son were killed. It was just after 8 on Sunday night when the bodies of 52-year-old Betty Mears and her 32-year-old son Jamal Mears were discovered. The mother's body was found at the front door, while her son's body was discovered on the outside. Shocked neighbors recounted their experiences off camera.
I heard the shots. I heard first 4 shots that went off, and it was me and another gentleman, and we pointed in the direction of where we thought they were coming from. And then it was a little pause, and then we heard the other shots, that 3 or 4 more that went off. The mother, she didn't interfere with anybody. She was a nice person. I don't know much about the son because he didn't even live up here. He come up here and visit her on Sundays. So I don't know nothing much about him.
Never hear nothing. So in Royce's was a very nice place. Royce's was quiet and nice, no quarreling, nothing at all. People live nice in here. Go out one other house and sit down, you know. Nothing like this never happened.
Lawmen are appealing to anyone with information about the double murder to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-8477. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
Now, shooting incidents of late, especially in Bridgetown, have put a damper on activities planned by the city MP to benefit residents. Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic alluded to this during a Barbados Labour Party branch meeting last evening at the BLP's Roebuck Street headquarters. He says if it is not controlled, tourists will avoid the city. He maintains that the problem has to be tackled through the provision of opportunities for Bridgetown residents.
This is what we were working on even when it was in opposition. That is why I started the City of Bridgetown Humanitarian Assistance Foundation. And opportunities were provided and people did not make use of the opportunities. What is it we're trying to do? Well, first of all, Emerton Community Center is in bad shape. Secured and got the ministry to provide the funds. That is going to be repaired shortly for the next financial year, next month, May. And that is going to be refurbished. That will become a center, a resource center.
Well, youth unemployment in Barbados stands at a staggering 24%. It's a number Minister of Small Business, Entrepreneurship and Commerce Dwight Sutherland wants to see urgently reduced. And this might happen through a program being funded by the Caribbean Development Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank. It's being facilitated by the Barbados Youth Business Trust. The project seeks to lessen youth unemployment through participation in entrepreneurial ventures throughout several regional countries. And Mr. Sutherland was speaking during a regional Train the Trainer workshop on strengthening the entrepreneurial spirit of Caribbean youth at the CDB this morning.
Entrepreneurship, though not the panacea for all of the challenges faced by the youth of the region, is nonetheless appreciated as a viable solution for the increasing youth unemployment problem, as well as the poverty and poor living conditions that are seen among this vulnerable group.
And Director of Projects at the CDB, Daniel Best, says it's part of a larger effort by that bank to create a better, safer and more prosperous future for young people.
In 2015, a CDB study entitled "The Youth Are the Future: The Imperative of Youth Employment for Sustainable Development in the Caribbean" noted that sluggish economic growth in Caribbean countries has resulted in increased unemployment among youth, and in particular, young women. The study revealed that young youth unemployment levels throughout the region are among the highest in the world, with nearly 25% of youth being unemployed. The figures for female youth unemployment were even higher than that average, at approximately 30%, as against 20% for young males. It is therefore not surprising that youth entrepreneurship has been pushed to the center of regional and international policy discussions.
Well, talk of the overhaul of the crop over season has been on everyone's lips since new NCF CEO Carol Roberts-Reefer announced the changes for the 2019 festival on Friday night over at Ilara Court. Now, one of those changes that has been sparking the most debate is the scrapping of the Pick of the Crop semi-finals and the contestants just singing one song at the finals. And we say good evening to who else but Shane Jones, who has been closely following those developments. And Shane, I understand that you have gathered some crucial data that seems to point to some possible reasons for those big changes.
Yes, that's correct, Lisa. I was able to acquire some figures that may very well tell the story of why we are seeing those drastic changes. But before we get into that, let's see how Barbadians have been reacting to the news. Now, it's 2019, Lisa, and the best place you can get the most honest and uncut comments is on social media. So I posed this question on Facebook. I asked, what do you think about the Pick of the Crop finals switching to one song? As expected, there were a lot of responses, both for and against. Now, former Pick of the Crop finalist Rommel, well, he's saying that he likes it. JC Mears had one word, and here's what she said. She called it madness. Now, Amber Nicole, she thinks it will make the competition stiff as you have to put everything into one song. She seems really excited about it. Rosemary Allen has some different thoughts. She writes, the slow death of crop over continues. And one more, Erin Brown is saying that in its current state, the event, to quote her, is dead, dead, dead. And essentially, she's willing to give the change a try. Okay, so I promised you some data. So let's take a close look at what helped the NCF come to its decision. Let's start with attendance numbers using the last 3 years as a guide for how things have been going. But before we do that, cast your mind back to past years when the Calypso competition was rocking. Remember, the gymnasium and stadium used to be bursting at the seams with people coming in to see who would take the crown. So now let's bring up those figures for 2016. The semifinals saw a mere 680 people, and the finals 3,699. Now in 2017, you might remember there was a bit of a buzz around that event. Edwin Yearwood came back to the competition after more than a decade, and he had that taxi song. And iWeb, who was the eventual winner, had Salesman or the Vote-Selling Song. That competition was billed as a battle between the two and generated a lot of excitement. Look at what happened, a bit of a bump up. The semis saw 880 people and the finals 4,225. Now we come to just last year, and what's interesting to note, there was a general election just a few months before the competition, and despite that, the numbers dropped to even lower than 2016. 2018 saw 698 attending the semis and a lowly 3,070 at Kensington Oval. So that is one part of it. If we are being honest, the numbers suggest that something must be done to bring fans back to the competition, whether you agree with what that something is or not. Now on the financial side, Pick of the Crop has been hemorrhaging money. Again, let's use those same 3 years. In 2016, the competition cost $79,000 to produce, and the NCF lost $41,000. That's not even making back half of their spend. Now remember that year we spoke about with iWeb and Edwin? Well, the competition cost $91,000 in 2017, and the deficit was $36,000. Now, while the gap wasn't as huge as the previous year, quite frankly, it still was a significant loss. Finally, last year, the total cost was $87,000, with the NCF losing $33,000. Again, not good business. So, Lisa, you see the stats strongly suggest that there needed to be some sort of intervention. Is it the right one? For me, it's exciting. And I guess we will soon find out. Back to you, Lisa.
And Shane, I realize there's a big increase in prize money as well. I'm sure that will benefit songwriters.
What's Trending is brought to you by Trident Insurance. We treat you like family.
And we say hello now to Lisa Broom in our social media corner to tell us what is trending. Good evening, Lisa.
Good evening to you, Lisa, and welcome to Watch Trending. Now, as you heard not too long ago, Barbados recorded its 17th and 18th murder for the year when a mother and son were gunned down last night. Well, as usual, the news of the island's latest tragedy spread like wildfire on social media, with many Barbadians sharing voice notes and photos of the alleged victims. Well, as it turned out, some of those pictures were of the wrong person. Ali Mears was forced to take to her Facebook page to reassure friends and loved ones that both she and her son were very much alive. She wrote, "I have family and friends calling me in tears because of this. My phone and my son's phone have not stopped ringing." Well, tomorrow, Britain's Prince Charles and his wife Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, will be here in Barbados, and preparations are ongoing for their visit. Several events are planned, including a parade and wreath-laying ceremony at the Cenotaph in National Heroes Square. A Master Chief Petty Officer of the Barbados Defence Force, Austin Howell, is telling Barbadians to expect several loud noises.
There will be some loud explosions when His Royal Highness arrives. There are going to be actually 21 explosions. We call it 21 gun salute, which we are going to do on arrival of His Royal Highness. So people in the general environs, don't be alarmed.
Well, on Friday, the world watched in horror as news broke about the deadly shooting attack on 2 mosques in New Zealand. 50 people died and dozens more were injured in that incident. Well, Facebook has been criticized for allowing a 17-minute video of the massacre to be streamed as it happened. Well, the site has since removed 1.5 million copies of the video, and it announced it would also be removing all edited versions, even the ones without graphic content. And they said they're doing that out of respect for the victims' families. But the question still remains, how did the social media giant allow the video to be streamed in the first place?
When you think of the scale of Facebook, when you think of the billions of users, many of whom are live streaming every day, it's hard to imagine the number of humans that you would need to be able to preemptively review every single video, which is not to excuse Facebook. It's just the nature of the platform that they've built. I think another question to ask, though, in terms of preemptive measures, Facebook could be doing a lot more probably to stop the spread of hate speech and white nationalist content before it even filters down to people, maybe inspiring them to do things like this in the first place.
Well, that was just a sad situation all around. Now on to this story. After spending the last 8 years in a U.S. jail, Jamaican reggae superstar Buju Banton made his long-awaited comeback on Saturday. Jamaica's National Stadium was packed to capacity as the artist kicked off his Long Walk to Freedom tour, which will make a stop right here in Barbados late next month. Well, dressed in all white, Buju, or Gargamel as he is also known, began with an emotional song that left some fans in tears.
In defense of my life, make it to your love and saving grace. I am on bending knees, Father, I plead,
Well, that's all the time we have for What's Trending this evening. Remember, we're easy to find on Facebook, Instagram, and on email. Lisa, you know that is one that I'm looking forward to.
I know you'll be there.
Yes, I will.
Thank you so much, Lisa. The head of the Faculty of Science and Technology at the UWI Cavell campus is once again saying that science, technology, engineering, art and math, or STEAM, is in crisis here in Barbados. Dr. Colin Depperdine says that this is as a result of the island missing a number of key opportunities over the years. He says Barbados is lagging behind and needs to get ahead of the gap again.
I'm fully aware that many people did not think this would happen. I'm fully aware that there'll be criticisms leveled. But I'm of the view that, great things start small and grow over time. And this is an evolutionary evolutionary type of initiative. And what I would say to everyone is that we now have, for the first time, everyone in science and technology in one area, and it's ready for us to take advantage of it and move past this point of always being behind. Barbados is not used to being behind in anything, and I think it's time we get back up. What they say, punch above your own weight or something like that, well, we need to get back there.
Dr. Debordine was speaking at the launch of the first ever Science and Technology Festival. Acting Director of the National Council on Science and Technology, Charles Cyrus, was pleased at the involvement of the various schools, especially the special needs institutions. He said that there is a dire need to raise the awareness that science and technology can bring to Barbados. Well, the Prince of Wales has started his tour of the Caribbean. St. Lucia was his very first stop, and he took in activities to commemorate that island's 40th anniversary of independence. The Prince met with Prime Minister Alan Chasney and Governor General Sir Neville Snack. And for the Royal, he says that St. Lucia has achieved a lot over the past 40 years.
Today, the name of this land, the only country in the world to bear the name of a woman, is known the world over. 1.2 million international visitors flock to these shores each year. Your sportsmen and women and your musicians are making a name for themselves internationally, as are young entrepreneurs such as Johannan Dujon, whom I met recently in London, and whose company, making organic fertilizer from toxic sargassum seaweed.
And Prince Charles will be here in Barbados tomorrow for the second stop of his Caribbean tour.